Welcome everyone. My name is Tina and I'm delighted to introduce to you two of our very first keynote speakers on our People stream. So happy to be with you, Nick and Lei. I would like to kick off this video teaser with asking you two why should people come to our session and listen to your valuable content?
Lei and I are going to be looking at slightly different aspects of leadership. Lei's going to be the first speaker looking at, if you like, neural leadership and get a better understanding of a much more modern approach for day-to-day leadership as a project manager or program manager. And then I'm going to be extending, let's say, our view of leadership to maybe see when can you enable leadership to happen as a natural dynamic within your project and your program team, rather than you having to act as the leader. And you need to be able to do both. And I think what people will get from this is a really good feel for a much more modern approach for, let's say, day-to-day leadership, but as well as a much wider contextual understanding of leadership within the project program management field.
I suppose the concept then of the nature of the world in which we live, in which we work, has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. And for me, then the question of how organisations and their leaders have adapted and assisted their teams to cope comes into focus. And that's perhaps even more relevant now with the concept of VUCA and the onset of COVID. It's just reinforced that sense of uncertainty and volatility. So I suppose the concepts of leadership now just really need to be re-examined in that context.
I'm just thinking about post-COVID situation and virtual teams and working from home. Do you have any take on that? And you could give us some sneak peek about those ideas.
Okay, it'll be a sneak peek, as you say. I suppose apart from the obvious technical, social, political changes that we've seen in our environment and our businesses and organisations, I'll be examining the concept of the relationship between leaders and team members, where a lot of studies more recently are indicating that relationships are breaking down, creating that unresolved stress and anxiety. Some of the research I've found, and in fact even been engaged in, it's not only staff, team members who are struggling with stress and anxiety, it's also the team leaders, it's also the managers, it's also the organisations. And so those tidbit type things, I mean, it's the culture. Unless you address the culture of an organisation, a lot of these things are going to remain unresolved. So my work has been looking at what happens when these things remain unresolved. What's happening at that psychosocial, biological level?
And what I'm going to be looking at is how people have navigated this uncertainty. And we did some research with people who'd been through what I'm going to be sharing with you in a very short period of time. But we researched one or 200 people who'd been through our approach and were applying it for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And some of them were saying that, number one, did you know that COVID was going to come along 4 years ago, because this exactly fits what we needed? And some people were saying, well, actually, lockdown is irrelevant. And people working at home is irrelevant if you understand this approach to leadership. And I think what that shows is people can get better engagement and far less stress if they understand how to handle that uncertainty and within the context that they're in. So I think one of the things I'll be looking at is the approach that you can apply to navigate that uncertainty with a much better approach to leadership, which is effectively leadership doing a lot less for a lot less stress and getting a lot better results.
Thank you both very much for this little sneak peek to your session.
Just seeing you online in St. Petersburg in a few weeks' time, and have a really fun session with Lei, and I'm really looking forward to taking part.
Likewise. Love to see you there, folks.